This week on Chapters Over Coffee, we're discussing chapters 16 through 20. A lot happened in these few chapters, and we get a little insight on what lies ahead when they get to Madras. So let's get into it.
In chapter 16, we open up, if you remember, Saeris blew a giant, 20-foot hole in the side of Ammontreíth. A good chunk of the library is gone now. It's a mess. So we open up, her and Algat are arguing about the hole. She's got the vampire tied up that, attacked her when all of this happened. He's asking what, or no, he's not talking at this point. Sorry. Her and Algat are still arguing. Algat is pissed. Guru escaped, and Saeris is like, dude, he's just a shadow. Like, why is it that big of a deal? She's like, he's never left the library. She's pissed. And, fully mouths off something. Oops, sorry.
That's okay.
Spoiler. Hello. Mouths off something, and Algat is like, I should just cut your tongue out. To which he just says, go ahead. It's just gonna fucking grow back like it did the last time.
So it's not his first time getting it cut out.
Yeah. And Saris points out that one of his eyes is like vertical, like it's a snake. Like it's got that slit in it. Like it's a snake eye. And I wonder if there's like a thing with that, because dragon eyes are kind of the same, aren't they? Or dragon eyes like normal? Oh, yeah. So I would imagine that it would be almost like a dragon eye as well, which Saris doesn't really know at this point because she's never encountered a dragon, so she may just assume that
Did she mention something about cat's eye?
maybe I missed that.
You can keep going. I'll see if I can.
Um He mentions to Saris, like, just kill me now. I'm gonna keep coming for your throat. Like, I'm never gonna stop. He's like, I'm just gonna fucking take care of you. And Saris pulls off her gloves, and Algat tells her that it's sacrilege to ink herself with markings like that. Like, can't remember if it says, I should have wrote it down. If it's because of the god bond markings or if it's because of the runes, which it's got to be the god bound markings and not the runes, because they all know she's an alchemist. So of course she's going to have alchemist markings on her. She goes into, questioning next how he broke the edict, like being able to attack her. And Lorith says that, he isn't bound by it. He never swore to the vampires. And I think at this point it's kind of, I don't know if he calls him fully by the end of the chapter. I'm really bad this morning, guys. I'm sorry. Or if it's just kind of implied that we know who he's talking to, because Lorith comes in so calmly after Saris is attacked and stuff like that. Like, no, he's not bound by them because he never swore allegiance to the vampires. Like, he's so fucking calm right now and not going after his throat. So if it wasn't said, it is heavily implied that we did just meet fully. And coming up soon, like, we get a little bit of backstory and stuff to him, and I'm hoping that we get more.
Yes.
I didn't have a lot for chapter 17, and that might be on me. I didn't go back through. It was a lot of like back and forth between them four.
Um,
fully even starts to question, like, where'd you get that dagger? Like, Fisher would never part with that unless he was fucking dead. Which, at that point sets Saeris back because it's like, okay, how the fuck do you know my mate? Like, he's never mentioned you. Like, I don't know who you are. Like, Sorry, you were gonna say something?
she did refer to it as snakes. I thought there was another part where she said cats too.
Maybe it's in the later chapter where they go back to them. I
I'll have to
can't
go back through.
I can't remember. Um, so go and read chapter 16 in case I missed anything. Like, figure it out. That's all I got for that. Um, Chapter 17, we go back to Fisher and Carrion, which was my least favorite fucking chapter. Um, but they've got millions of scorpions coming after them. They're getting stung. Um, Carrion, he's like glued to the floor of the trap. Like, he can't fucking do anything to try and fight off all of the scorpions. And Fisher's got them crawling up his body. They're in his boots. They're in his pants. They're in
And
his
his
shirt. Like,
armor.
yes, they're just everywhere. And, he starts thinking back to, like, he had a memory when he was with his mom. And I'm assuming it was like something she seen to kind of prepare him. But his mom was tickling him and she asks him, like, what are you going to do to, I don't remember what she said, get rid of me or like fight me off or make me stop or anything like that. And he remembers, like, you got to let in the light. So he tells Carrion that he's got to let in the light. And, he's trying to fight his way, get the scorpions off. They're getting stung, so they're being extremely like infected with all of this scorpion venom that is definitely like weakening them at this point the more that they get stung. Then Carrion becomes fully covered in scorpions. Like, it's almost as like they just engulf him completely. Like, you can't see
Mm-hmm.
him anymore. And Fisher starts to think about how he could just leave. He wouldn't even need to save Carrion. Like, he could get out of there, get the silver. He's going to go find Hayden. He could leave and just go back to Saeris. But then he realizes, like, I can't fucking do that. She'll be pissed at me. Like, it'll be even worse than trying to fight through doing all of this, dealing with her wrath. So he steps through the trap and he sees all of this treasure and stuff, along with the body of who he assumes is Joshin's last meal. And I don't know if I'm saying that right. That's how they pronounce it in the audiobook. It's
I was about to
Joshin.
ask.
So
I thought it was like
that's,
Joshin.
yeah. They pronounced it Joshin, so
Okay.
each their own. I'm not 100% positive. So that's what I'm going to go with. Feel free to, um, whatever works for you. Um, so then Carrion starts pleading for him, like, hey, kill me now, help me, whatever. And Shaw says that he can't because Joshin needs his prey alive. And Fisher starts punching the wall. Like, he's just hammering at the wall with his fists. And he keeps giving it, like, doing it. And he's like putting all of his strength, all of his power and stuff like into being able to like bust out this wall. That eventually he breaks his own hand
Mm.
trying to do it to be able to let the light in. And the whole time, like, Shaw is taunting him about not being able to let the light in, like not being able to do it. And the scorpions start to kind of like retreat from Carrion. And I also noticed that at this point, I don't know if it's because he's been stung so many times that the venom is kind of like starting to kick in, but he even mentions and thinks about how his shadows are acting a little bit funky. It seems like when he's trying to like pound the wall, like it's almost like, and I don't know if
Reverberating.
it's a good, yeah, like it's like happening twice. So like it's like going out or whatever. And I don't know if it's like a good thing that it's doing that or if it's a bad thing. Like, the gods said they can't interfere and stuff when Saeris chose this path for them. Like, Zareth is like done. He can't help them anymore. He cannot interfere with anything. So, because I had a brief thought that maybe that was that because, like, he's in a situation like he needs to be able to get out, but it's got to be something that they've already foreseen happening and stuff. And obviously, his mom did. But, Carrion is like, they're leaving me. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Should I be worried? And Fisher basically says that you need to be very fucking worried. Because all of the scorpions are becoming one. Like he said, how did he describe it? They can either,
Be
I can't think
millions
of the
or
word.
one.
Yeah. And right now they're becoming one because they're forming Joshin. Like they're becoming the demon right now. And then Fisher, the venom is setting in, and Fisher is hallucinating his mom now. And his mom's talking about how much he was a nuisance. He just, she's saying all of this bad stuff to him, like just trying to fill his mind with doubt. I think so that way he'll be able to like give in to the venom, just, accept your fate. Like you're gonna fucking die. Just, she's saying all this nasty stuff. But he's able to get to focus and knows it was an illusion. So he goes after Joshin. So then his mother starts giving him shit about going after Joshin instead of not going after him. And so she changes tactics to try to tear him down, which still doesn't work. And so next thing you know, like he's taking his own blood and he's drawing the rune for break. And he has a brief thought like, okay, the scorpions can get in and out, like they could hurt the people of Zulvarin, blah blah blah. And he slams his fist again to the wall and lets the light in. And, the scorpions, they run to hide. Joshin begins smoking and, begging for it to stop. And Fisher doesn't. And then Shaw has Carrion in a headlock. He's got a knife in his hand. And Carrion's able to, like, I don't know, headbutt him or elbow him at this point to kind of like throw Shaw off of, off balance and everything. And then he's wrestling with him. Carrion breaks his neck. And it distracts Fisher enough that Joshin is able to stab his stinger or one of his pinchers or whatever, in his leg. Oh, in his leg with his stinger. I would have gone further. I would have seen that. And Carrion's like, we need to go, and was going to stab Joshin, but Fisher stops him. And Joshin says that he has secrets that are worth more to keep him alive. And, Fisher even agrees that they need him alive because they need the venom from his body. And in order to be able to create the anti-venom, they have to have his okay. Like, he has to be like, okay, I'll give you the anti-venom or whatever for you to create it. And so they have to keep him alive. Carrion's like, I'm sure Shaw has some. It's got to be back in a shop, but they don't want to take the chance. And Carrion's like, we could just cut the stinger off, take that, go to the shop, make the anti-venom. But Fisher wants to make a deal with Joshin to get the anti-venom. Like, he wants to do it the right way. And he says that they'll let him live if he gives him the anti-venom To which Joshin doesn't think that that's fair because they're trading the anti-venom for 2 lives. So Fisher does a little play on words like, okay, like, are we as equal as you? You know, whatever. And so he's like, no, you're right. And so they come up with a deal that if they give him he has to give them the anti-venom and a secret, a good secret. Like, it's got to be like a banging secret along with the anti-venom, and they'll let him leave. So Joshin agrees. Fisher like bleeds to seal his part of the deal. And Joshin releases a scorpion, and he puts it in like a trinket box or something like that, or it's like some special box, I don't know, that he locks it in. And you know, they make the deal, they seal it and everything, and Fisher is very fucking smart. Like, he quickly thought that through and found a way around the deal without letting Joshin live. Because technically he is going to be alive. He's just not going to be in his big body because, you know, at one point he pleaded, like, if you kill this body, it'll take me millions of years or, you know, thousands of years to kind of like become that again. Yeah. So he gets a stinger, and you know, Joshin realizes that because he's got that scorpion in the box, that he did find a way around the deal to not kill him completely. Like, he even tells him, you'll still be alive, you just won't be you. And the secret that he tells them is that to kill a queen, they must go to the deepest, darkest parts, like in the castle, and the beast waiting, like, they better be ready for the beast waiting for them because she will eat their souls. And then he sets Joshin on fire.
So does Madra have a demon? Is that how she's immortal?
She either has a demon or
a black witch or something.
In order to stay immortal and be human, she made a deal with the devil and has to eat people's souls to stay young. And that's why she is the way that she is. And that's her part of how Malcolm was the vampire. She's an immortal human, made a deal, and that's her thing for youth. That's my unhinged theory. That was her deal with the devil, and that's how she stays young. And like, they each got a different part. So that's my unhinged theory that I have for
how she commands
for that.
Her guards?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what else would be. Like, I still haven't come up with anything as to why, if they are siblings, each of them is different. You know, like, well, Malcolm was the other than the curse, you know, like other than the curse.
Malcolm's technically Fae and Bellican's Fae, so that makes sense. Malcolm was Fae before he was vampire.
So Madra's got to be Fae, and is she then an illusion? Like, is she glamored?
Don't know.
They call it glamored in this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, Bellican's Fae, and Malcolm used to be Fae until he got the curse. He just chose to stay vampire because he liked all that power.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I need more to it because. Yes. But that's my unhinged theory. That's where I'm at right now.
I like it.
As far as that, because yeah. Did you have anything else to add for that?
I think there's another demon involved.
Oh, they each, well, maybe.
Because he's encountered 2 so far.
Yeah.
He said there was
what
more.
What other beast would they have? Like,
it would have to be another demon.
Yeah. And if they're striking deals with demons, then if that's how she gets her power,
Yeah, because
like
Malcolm had a
Melody
demon.
or whatever.
Malcolm had
Yeah.
the one demon. Who does Bellican have?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the one thing. Wasn't that the thing that was the spider
The
thing?
the one that kept eating Fisher and then Malcolm would bring him back.
Yeah. Okay, so we go back to Ammontreíth, where Lorith and Folly, they kind of get a chance to talk. Algat tells Saeris she can only come to the library 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the evening, but does give her the book that she needed. Foley sees how Lorth is like protective of Saeris right now and is completely thrown aback. Like, she's the enemy. She's, even though he is technically the enemy, like, he's still very much loyal to the Lupo Proelia, and like their ways, their beliefs, things like that. Like, he is an enemy. He just doesn't understand it. So Lorith grabs him and he's fucking dangling him out of the hole in the side of the mountain, the side of Ammontreíth. And, Foley starts to kind of put it together, I think, between, Saeris and Fisher, but he's like super in denial. Like, no, again, she's the enemy. He would never do that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they talk about she says, the whole mate thing, and he's just like, no, you tricked him. It's not true.
Uh-huh.
And Saeris is like, how the fuck are you a vampire when you hate vampires? Like, that's just like, why? And he tells her that his death was taken from him and he's tried to give it back many, many times unsuccessfully. So, like, I'm assuming he's tried to kill himself many times and, it's just not happening. I have a theory, though, that he's going to kind of accept it for Saeris by the end of this book if he doesn't get his death that he wants so he doesn't have to live as a vampire. He'll do it for Saeris because he'll see the bond that her
Mm-hmm.
and Fisher have by the end of the book, and he'll like kind of swear an oath to her, not the other side, not like Malcolm's side of vampires,
Yeah.
but like I feel like Saeris is gonna have like her set of
Her army.
vampires, and I feel like he'll swear allegiance to her unless they do give him his warrior's death and they're like, we'll give you what you want so you're not living miserably. So I do think that I think he'll swear allegiance. And I have stayed spoiler free, so this is not me building
Same.
off of something. So that's just how I feel. Um yeah. Um So they all talk some more, and we find out that Tal actually has known the whole time where Foley has been because he has been letting him live there under Tal's discretion in the library. So he's just kind of been like a shadow lurking in the library this whole time, 600 years or however long, since all of this happens. And and nobody ever thought to really ask because they really were on speaking terms with Tao, obviously, like Lorith and uh, Ren. And then,
Well,
like, like, obviously they didn't talk to them and stuff. They're gonna be fucking more livid when they find out Foley's been there the whole fucking time. But at the same time, I think that they'll see, like, okay, Tao really isn't as bad. Like, I think by the end of the book, they're going to
But
be like, okay, Tal's okay. He's a decent guy.
we know why they don't like him now. Like, we did learn
Yes.
why they don't like him right now.
But, I mean, Tal was part of the Lupo Proelio, wasn't he? Like, he was one of them, and he turned for...
I don't know if he was one of them, but they knew him.
Okay. Or maybe he wasn't part of the Lupo Proelio, but he was, like, a warrior in...
Did you
Like,
not
you know how they
read
have all their
chapter
warriors?
20?
I don't remember. I did read chapter 20.
Okay, well, we'll
What did I
discuss
miss
it.
in chapter 20?
We'll discuss it.
Okay. Um, that chapter was a lot, and there was a lot of sex to skim
It was
through.
at the end. You couldn't miss this one. Just keep going. We'll discuss it when we get there.
Hater. Um,
Can't ruin the surprise yet.
yeah. Saeris takes the book, and Foley's asking, what do you need with it? And Saeris doesn't want to tell him, but Lorith kind of gives her this look. Like, we can trust him, like he's, and she's like, I'm an alchemist, I'm godbound to Fisher, and I'm covered in runes, and I don't know what the fuck they mean, basically. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with these. And Foley immediately is like, when was the last time you slept? Alchemists need their rest for their power, and she looks like she hasn't rested in weeks, to which she takes offense. And he tells her that she has to find what works for her to be able to rest. Like, she's got to be able to get that. And he has to enter a trance state. And then he tells her, like, how to kind of accomplish that. Like, go into the room, focus on that room, that area, and stuff like that. And, like, it'll go from there. He had learned some things from his grandfather about alchemists and stuff. And so Lorith asks if he can help her to seal those runes, and he agrees. And he tells her to sleep first, and then he's going to track down titles, like come up with some extra stuff, so then that way once she's well rested and good to go, they can get started, which I think is great. Like, he, he's going to like be okay with her by the end of this book. Like, he's
I
gonna
see it.
see, even before Fisher comes back, like, he's gonna be okay with her.
I see it.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. So now we're going to jump back to Zul'Varun. So we have Carrion and Kingfisher. They made it to Vorith's shop, or Vorith's shop, just to find it a disaster. Fisher does note, though, that the shop was a disaster now, but at the same time, he thought he may have been hallucinating, because when they were first in there in chapter 15, when they hit the guy, everything on the shelves was coated in a layer of sand. Everything was like in place, and now there was glass bulbs and wooden crates were broken on the floor. So either somebody had ransacked the place, or it was made to look nice, like he had like some like glamored in a sense, or Fisher really was hallucinating. But Carrion notes that the smell in the shop smelled familiar, which leads me to believe that maybe somebody was there and he caught their scent. And then that's where they kind of left it. They didn't like backtrack on that either. We learn that to make the anti-venom, they did not need a healer for it. All warriors know how to make it, and they learn basic healing skills before they learn how to wield a sword. So they're looking for something to make this whatever they wanted to make. I don't so what did they call it? They were looking for a specific thing, but they didn't find it. So what they found was a distiller to break down, so they could make the venom. As he's doing this, or as they're breaking it down, Fisher starts to hallucinate his mom again. She keeps telling him that he was too late and that he was just like his father, always late. And in his mind, like he knew that that wasn't her. That's not how she spoke to him. That's not who she was. And then she offers him the apple she's eating, but Fisher just replies back saying that he didn't want it, which causes Carrion to ask Fisher if he was seeing dead people as well. Which now makes me wonder who he was seeing, but once we get back to like in chapter 20, or reading the next like section, once somewhere, um, I wonder though if he was seeing the one that he loved, the
Mm,
human that he had fell in love with before. And then at this point, Fisher gets another voice at his side. He was too afraid to look at her. He was still mourning her after all these years. And he even stated that hearing her voice had hurt more than enduring the scorpions. And I still believe they would have crossed that line with each other if he didn't know about Saeris at the time. I think they would have explored that. But as Fisher's trying to get the last scorpion to give them the venom, Morel was trying to get Fisher to look at her. It took her yelling, "Kingfisher, look at you, what you did to me," for him to accidentally just spin around and look at her. It was her, but her hair was frizzled and black. Her face was blistered and raw, skin slick like melted candle wax. Her left eye was missing, lips were fused together on the left side, and scrapes of a scorched leather stuck to the exposed bones of her rib cage. And then the hallucination had the nerve to ask him if she was still beautiful, to which he just replied, "Always." Again, I think they would have crossed that line. Totally think they would have crossed the line.
yeah.
But at this time, Fisher knew like everything that he was seeing and hearing was just a manifestation. What, cannot say that word today, of his own guilt, but it still shatters his heart. Because he still holds it. He was supposed to protect her, and he didn't that day.
Hmm.
But by the time Fisher was done making the anti venom, Carrion was still tackling his demons. And he mentions that someone's going to die if they took it. He was begging that he would do anything. And to me, it looks like the person that he loved or cared for was sick and needed something to survive. And someone was confiscating it, more or less, probably Madra or her goons was there
Hmm.
confiscating it. And it was probably like some medicine or something. Fisher was able though to get him to refocus, to stop worrying about the demons, and handed him the anti-venom. Once they took it, they both started season. At this point, they're just laying on the shop's floor, and they have a small bonding moment. And I think this is where their friendship blooms. Because they ask each other how they were feeling, to which both of them said shitty, and that neither one of them were seeing dead people anymore. But then we kind of jump. Now they're at Carrion's house. They make their way to Carrion's house because neither one of them wanted to stay any longer than what was going on. They didn't want to fall asleep. Carrion states the last time that he was at his house, there was a bartender in his bed. Said bartender was not there, but she did leave a note that said that he was banned from the Dusty Crab. Carrion then pours them each a glass of alcohol into two cut glass tumblers, and this gets them on the subject of Saeris because she had made those glasses. The things that she had made weren't fine enough for the ones in the hub, so when Elroy couldn't sell them, Carrion would take them off his hands. So this kind of gets Fisher reflecting to himself the first time that he had met her and like how he was full of panic when he found her. How was he supposed to protect this human from the kind of life he lived, because he was still technically under Bellican and Malcolm's um oath and stuff. So like he had his own things he was still dealing with. Um but he did mention that Saeris had surprised him with how strong she was, how big her heart was, and that he had misjudged her. And then this is where we get the scene that everybody was freaking out all about all over the internet. Carrion knew it was coming and had Fisher ask him the question, was Carrion in love with Saeris? And we all have seen the little audio clip of this where he said no and then he changes it to yes. He then describes her as someone who keeps other people warm in the cold dark, and it was her strength, not her weakness. And that he also said that being around her reminds that person that they're alive. Carrion then goes on to say that he could have truly loved her, but Zavarin had already broke him from centuries before she was even there. He made the mistakes of loving a human, and every year is a magnitude to the last year of his loss. That's why I believe like who he was seeing was this person that he fell in love with.
Yeah.
Um, then we finally get the answer. He loves Saeris, but he's not in love with her. He tried, but his heart was too full of sorrow. And this, I believe, again, is the beginning of a friendship. Now that Fisher has cooled down and is like, okay, he's not gonna get in the way.
Yeah.
And then at the end of this chapter, Carrion wants Fisher to show him how to turn off that pain because he saw how like he endured all of the scorpions and didn't flinch. Um, he wanted to shut down, but Fisher refuses to because he states that it takes a lot of pain to go through again and again and again, and he had no choice but to do that. The 100 years that he was stuck in the maze and everything that all the torture that he went through, and he doesn't want Carrion to be a fool and ask for more. It's a curse he would spare him from. And then we go back to Saeris. We start off with her taking Foley's advice and getting some rest. So inside her room, she had found a crack in the wall to stare at to will herself into this rest. It does take her hours, but instead of her mind fully shutting down, she ends up somewhere else, somewhere snowy. And as she's taking everything in, she spots a cottage like on the hillside with a figure moving in what was like a repetitive jerking way. She instantly knows it's Fisher. So she starts running towards him, and then when he sees her, like he's excited and happy until he's like backs up
Mhm.
because he had to ask her, are you dead? Because everything looks so real to them. Because he brings up that he was dreaming, he had just fallen asleep on Carrion's floor, and then she brings up that she had just fell asleep or in her trance, and he was already here, but he had been there for an hour. He had already been there for a little bit. So now we have something that we haven't fully gotten into just yet. So my guess, okay, is either her powers or the runes they both give each other being God bound.
Ooh.
I also have another theory when we get to another little character coming up. I also have a theory on that too.
Okay.
That ties in with these two. So at this, they start to realize that this is somehow real and that they are both in the same dream while being in two different places. Fisher admits to Saeris that he believes he has nothing to worry about with Carrion after she reminded him that he's not allowed to hurt him. When Saeris notices Fisher's hand, he explains all they went through with Joshin
Yeah.
and that they hadn't found Hayden yet. When Fisher notices that Saeris was cold, he takes her inside. They were in this huntsman cottage on the boundaries of Kalish, where his father had taken him a few times when he was younger, but he hasn't thought of this place for like years. As Saeris is suspecting inside the college, she notices what she thought was a white dog, but it wasn't a white dog. It was Onyx actually laid in front of the hearth. Now, this makes me believe that this is what they both want. And maybe this is what helped conjure up this. They just want a small place away from everything that's been going on, just the two of them and Onyx. And this is kind of what their mind created, and somehow it became real in their dreams. But maybe it's Onyx. Maybe he has this
Ooh.
unique gift that can do this because Fisher states that Onyx has been following him around in his dreams for a couple of weeks. And we know that Saeris hasn't had any rest for about the same amount of time. So, is this Onyx way of getting them two together to help that? Is
Maybe,
that his purpose?
which kind of makes sense that because everybody thinks that he's like a familiar, so he's in their lives to like protect them, to guide them,
Mm-hmm.
and so that does make a lot of sense
See,
for
and I
that.
wonder because he also said that Onyx was there in his dreams when he was back in college. So maybe it's Onyx helping them see each other because at this point they're going to be sleeping at two different times until she's fully like
Yeah,
able. Because I don't know if she's able to still go out in the sun since she's half, but right now she's still so sensitive to it all because she just turned.
I think so. I think she can. Because I don't think it kills them. It just like weakens them a little bit, I think. But
I'm not fully for
I don't
sure.
know.
Um, the two of them have a small intimate moment, and Saris touches Fisher's ankle. But when she did this, she ends up giving him a tattoo of a dagger. My guess is this dagger represents his dagger that she had to use on Foley. It makes sense why it was the dagger. It starts to freak her out because she believes they're going to give each other tattoos every time they touch with her. So, to lighten the whole situation, Fisher jokes about it, stating that it's just when she's thinking bad things and she goes to
Mm.
defend herself and states, that all she did was touch his ankle. So, he gets a little playful and tells her, that she might have a foot fetish, but his weren't as hairy as most people's.
Yeah.
By the end of that yeah, disgusting. By the end of that conversation, Fisher was taking this opportunity to take Saris to bed, stating that it was all he needed, something simple. So he was going to claim her right then and there. So, you get the wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Y'all can read it.
Big
But I did want
time.
to,
Like it was
yeah,
forever.
but I did want to point out some key points throughout it. Because Fisher does become vulnerable at this time on how his mother's drawings of her never felt real to him, on how he didn't know what she'd mean or what he would do to keep her safe. So he kind of got vulnerable in that time. We also learned that if he was to bite her, he could heal himself. So she gets him to do that. So that way, he didn't need to worry about his broken arm, that it was healed. And then, so I wonder though if it's going to be healed once he wakes back up in Sylvarin. So once they're out of the stream, does it stay healed?
Yeah.
When Saris wants to drink from Fisher, he didn't want his mind to be cloudy. He needed his head to be on straight because he didn't know exactly where they were and how real it was. Um, so then, okay, we skip because they're still, going at it. So after completing their activities, Fisher found it yeah. Fisher finds it
After
strange.
completion.
Yes, after completion, Fisher finds it strange that they could be sleepy while already dreaming, but neither one of them wanted to sleep inside said dream because it meant to commune with the gods, and he wanted no part in that. So he just wanted to feed Saeris, regular food and find out what was happening in Ammontreíth. So once Saeris was finished telling him everything, Fisher just wanted to know, how Foley looked and if he was well. When Saeris mentions his canines were plated gold, Fisher explains that it was a sign of a shunned vampire, which we knew he did not swear fealty to the court.
Yeah, something like that.
Fealty or something. Yeah. What the court does is they rip out their fangs if they won't swear allegiance to the crown. It's a dark judgment and gives them a slow, miserable death. Without their fangs, they can't feed, which makes them starve and they go mad. Malcolm used this against Fisher in the maze, the fact that he was able to rip out Foley's fangs himself, and he was then keeping him alive and torturing him. We do learn that most shunned vampires end up out in the dead fields, or any high fae that comes across them are to execute them on the spot. But Fisher believes Malcolm let Tal keep Foley as a pet and use him as a bargaining chip to get Tal's obedience because that was his sire. That's who he sired. And I want more backstory on this, and maybe it's one of the side characters that she has planned to write about. Maybe we get Foley or Tal's story on the backstory, unless we
Yeah.
learn more throughout this one. Um, dun dun dun. Saeris asks the big question, though. Why does Red hate Tal? And this is what we were talking about. He was not, I don't think he was part of them. He was betrothed to Everlane. She was in love with him. Everlane was in love with Taladeus. They were both betrothed to each other, but the night before they were to get married, Tal goes against his father's wishes and the king's demand, and he knelt at the feet of Sanzaroth's throne willingly because he was in love with Zovina. He did it for love, if we remember. It was when Fisher, Lorth, and Wren were talking. Fisher had mentioned to Wren that it wasn't that simple when you sell your soul to the devil to protect the person you love. And I had said that in another episode. He did it for love because Tal was in
Yep.
love with Zovina. Everlane was in love with Tal. Tal leaves her the night before the wedding, so that's why they hate him. That's why they don't like him. And that's how they were like closer with him.
Yeah, I definitely missed that.
I was like, the kicker. Why do you think I text you? I'm like, girl. And you're like, I don't get it. Like, you even text me
I know,
back,
I
like,
was
I
like,
don't
what did
get
I
it.
miss? But
Yo, apparently you missed the whole end of the chapter.
yeah. It had to have been in because there were a few spots where I had to like
It
skip
it
15
was the
seconds
very
of all the
last.
sexy stuff.
This was the very, very last.
So how did I miss that? Because I went straight through to where it said chapter 21.
You must have
And
skipped too much because it was right there at the end. Literally the end
geez.
of the chapter.
Oh, my bad.
All right. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Mm-mm.
So, thank you for joining or watching this week's episode, and join us for next week's episode. And I'm kind of excited to learn more on what they find out with Madra. Is it
Yeah.
a demon? And also why things are the way they are right now, with the two sons. Are we going to get answers with that and
Hmm.
go from there?